So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Trauma Theory, because Zaniolo and Roma's story, Zaniolo and Roma's relationship is about to end. Zaniolo is getting closer and closer and closer to Galatasaray in Turkey. We've got a few statements from Fabrizio Romano, which we're going to go through in a second. But and overall, I think we're coming to the end of this relationship, and as much as it isn't 100% confirmed, I also want to give a farewell speech, not like a farewell emotional speech, just like my final thoughts on this entire situation. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, before we get into the stream, very important stream today, because we're also going to touch on Genie updates, which are very positive. Before we get into all of these topics, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. The first thing which I do want to say before officially starting the stream, however, is obviously my prayers and thoughts go out there to every single person who lives in Turkey, who lives in Syria, which has been affected by the massive earthquake, the terrible earthquake, which has led to many, many deaths. So yeah, first of all, prayers and thoughts to everyone who's been touched by this drastic event. But yeah, stay positive, even though it's hard. But right. Zaniolo. Let's start with Fabrizio Romano's statement to start the stream on a good note. There we have it. Let me quickly just put it onto a good size. So, earlier today, Fabrizio Romano tweeted that Galatasaray are close to completing Nicolo Zaniolo deal, discussing final details with Roma after personal terms agreed with the player 2 days ago. Zaniolo could fly to Istanbul tomorrow if all goes to plan. Permanent deal with a release clause included. And then literally 16 minutes ago, as you can see from the tweet, he has retweeted and responded to his own tweet and said the release clause will be around 35 million for Nicolo Zaniolo deal, and it will be valid in the summer. Zaniolo will travel to Istanbul tomorrow, as revealed earlier, still waiting to sign the contracts. So it isn't confirmed. Obviously, the deal has not followed a confirmation path, but it's there. And the second you've got someone like Fabrizio Romano talking about it, it's going to be a here we go soon. Look, I think if everyone doesn't understand my position on this, for the own sake of our future, for the own sake of his own future, Zaniolo has to leave the club. Obviously, I'll give my concluding speech, if you want to call it that way, in a second. But first of all, let's kind of sum up the financial moves of this deal. It will be a loan. It will be a loan, but as Fabrizio has tweeted, it's a loan with a release clause around 35 million, which is a lot of money. And it would be a loan where Galatasaray would pay around 20 million euros on a basis, and then add 3 to 4 million euros when it comes to bonuses, which we should point out are very easy to achieve. So the final sum of the money we would get would be around 25 million. We've understood that no one is willing to offer 35 million to 40 million, which was our initial demand. We understood that, especially now that the situation has degenerated even more. It's even going to be harder to find a team which pays that amount of money. But yeah, that's definitely something to add. I think 25 million is good, because we had a risk of letting Zaniolo go for free. If he wasn't going to play football for the next 6 months, then his value would massively decrease. And if no one was willing to pay his value in the summer, because he was completely cut out of Roma's project, then we had to wait until 2024, which is when his contract expires. And if he leaves, because his contract expires, obviously he leaves as a free agent, and Roma would get no money from it. So it's good that we're getting at least something. And it's, 25 million might not be the 40 million we were initially asking for, but it's still quite a lot of money. 25 million. So that's definitely the financial side of the move. A few behind the scenes. Fenerbahce tonight, I should say last night, actually tried to hijack the Galatasaray deal. Fenerbahce actually offered a teeny tiny bit larger money. They offered like 2 million more than Galatasaray, but Roma did not want to end up like Bournemouth. They stuck with the Galatasaray decision so that Zaniolo could leave the club. And it's very fair to say that the big priority of the ownership in these past weeks was to sell Zaniolo. After Zaniolo did what he did, their big objective was to sell him, and I think we're very close in having fulfilled our objective. So last night, this was reported by Dimarzio, Fenerbahce were actually trying to hijack the Galatasaray deal. But then Galatasaray earlier today just continued the contacts, presented the official offer to Roma, and it now looks like Zaniolo is gonna join Galatasaray. Now, one of the things is that this deal could have been completed a few hours ago. However, due to the earthquake and all of the disaster which that brought, Galatasaray had to actually schedule a virtual meeting, and it had a little delay, obviously very reasonable for everything which has been happening in these last hours in that part of the world. And yeah, I mean, pray for Turkey, as BM says in the chat, 100%. But he's gonna leave. Zaniolo's gonna leave Roma. And the story between Roma and Zaniolo, the love story, because it's been a love story. It's been a love story which is leading towards a breakup, but it's been a love story. The fans have loved the guy has loved the fans, and in these past weeks the relationship has become a bit colder. But yeah, I mean, look, my concluding statement on this is, I respect Zaniolo. I think every single player which wore a Roma shirt, which sacrificed themselves while playing for the pitch, that automatically means, I respect you, I appreciate you. In many other words, it could also mean, like, very simply, I love you. The problem is, I mean, we'll get to that, what the situation has become, but initially, the first years Zaniolo came, it was actually a big risk, because obviously Zaniolo came in from Inter's academy as an exchange for Raja Nainggolan. And Zaniolo came in for a player under the name of Nainggolan, which was seen as the true love by Roma fans. Nainggolan was seen as a god. Nainggolan was seen as a warrior, as a ninja, as his name says. But Zaniolo came to Roma, and it was a big risk for fans, because he barely ever played an official game for a Serie A team when he came. He came when he was very, very young. And the second he played for Roma, there's been this massive bond created between him and the fans. The first goal which he scored with a Roma jersey was when he was still very, very young, when Di Francesco was sitting on the bench, and he scored what do you want to call it, a Panenka goal. And that immediately gave Totti vibes to Roma fans. Then obviously his double goal in the Porto Champions League, I think it was round of 16, where Zaniolo scored 2 goals at home against Porto in the Champions League, and just from there was just something created between the fans and Zaniolo. That's why, until a few months ago, Zaniolo, when the speaker announces the lineups, was the one who got the most applause, applause and the most love. And this is something which we can't forget. He's a player which has sacrificed a Roma shirt. We should respect him for it. Obviously, after these events, this Sassuolo debut goal, after this brace against Porto in the Champions League, he had his dark period. He broke his first ACL against Juventus, and then in the next year he broke the second ACL, which was the other ACL against the Netherlands in an Italian national team game. And from there, I hate to say it, but that has been the turning point. His ACL consecutive double injury has just started a dark period in his career. He wasn't the same player anymore. It would be a lie for us to say that he was the same player he was before his injury. He wasn't. He wasn't the same player. Those injuries absolutely destroyed him. It destroyed him physically, because they are 2 very terrible injuries, but it also destroyed him psychologically, because obviously for a player who's like 19 years old and gave massive impact to games, he was seen as a future gem of Italian football. Having these 2 consecutive injuries was a big dark tunnel, was something big to get through. And the media starting turning against him so many times. He's been a very unfortunate player. He's been a very unfortunate player, but we've come here where something broke between the fans and Zaniolo. Something broke in his appreciation of the club. Something broke in him respecting the club, and you didn't want to stay anymore. And when a player doesn't want to stay, he has to leave. He's got all the rights to leave. The only thing which he got wrong, obviously, is the way he treated the fans. Because after all of the love, after all of the, not even the love, but after all of this support which the Roma fan base have shown Zaniolo after his ACL injury, they didn't give up on Zaniolo. They always believed in Zaniolo to be a future gem of Italian football. They always supported him. They were always behind him. They were always the first to defend him. So I think it's not fair to say that now that this relationship has been broken, it's fair to say that Roma fans hate Zaniolo. No, Roma fans don't hate Zaniolo. Obviously, out of 10 Roma fans, you will find that 1-2 fans which again hate the player because they don't understand what it means to be a football player. It's tempting to say, oh, I hate the guy because he's disrespected the fans. It's tempting to say that. But you always have to remember that, the life of a football player is a tough career. So you will always find people which say, oh, I hate the guy. But I don't think the Roma fan base hate the guy. I think the Roma fan base are disappointed in the guy. And I think they're two very different things. I think the Roma fan base have been disappointed by how Zaniolo has been treating them after how good we treated him, if you see what I mean. But him leaving the club, because he is gonna leave. It isn't confirmed, but he is gonna leave in these next couple of hours. In fact, tonight can be the green light for him to go. And as Fabrizio said, if everything proceeds like this, Zaniolo will fly to Istanbul tomorrow. We don't hate him. We respect him. He fought for this club, but we're just disappointed. And we have to see the realistic side of everything. He didn't treat us well, but look, he's gonna leave. I wish him all the best. Because I loved him as a player since the last month, since all of these events started. I appreciated him as a player. He was actually one of my favourite players at Roma, just because I saw how much potential he had. But if he wants to leave, he has to leave. And I think it's, as I said yesterday, it's a relationship which you just can't rebuild. He's gone too far. So it's just good for him that he leaves. It's good for us that we depart ways from him. I wish him all the best. I hope he can show his total prospect, his total talent in the Turkish league, and maybe one day come back to this area. Maybe, who knows? Maybe one day he'll be back in Rome. Who knows? I think he has got potential. He's got talent. He just, the only negative thing which I'll say is that obviously when you've got a player with these potentials and with this talent, because he does have potentials and talent, he just hasn't been converting them. But a player with these potentials and talent outside of the Italian Football League is always bad to see. It's always bad to see for the Italian national team. Because, for example, I think the most negative outcome of this is that I don't think Mancini, the Italian coach, will give him call-ups to the Italian national team. I just don't think it will happen, because Mancini will obviously prioritize Serie A players. And this, is another reason to explain why the success of the Italian national team in these past years, in reaching the World Cup. That's why he's the national team is finding it very difficult to reach World Cups, because you don't really have players like Saka, players like Foden, players like Bellingham. You don't have these generational talents in this area, which is another reason I'll definitely say why the Serie A is a rotten league. But the second we have a player like Zaniolo, who I'm not trying to say is by any means similar to Saka, Foden, but he's got potentials. You know, everyone who says he doesn't have potentials, I don't think you know a lot about football knowledge, because he has got potentials. So the second we have an Italian player who's got potentials but leaves the Italian league and goes to the Turkish league, then that's another player which we've burnt it down for our Italian national team. It is what it is. We have to move on from this. You know, at the end of the day, the conclusion, which I think the majority of players have understood from this and have kind of withdrew from, is that no player is bigger than the club. No player is bigger than the club. So as much as it's tempting for Zaniolo to kind of think himself as a new Francesco Totti, it's very easy to say these things. It's way harder to actually fulfill these things. But look, I've said it many times, and I'm going to say for it one last time, for our own benefit, for his own benefit, it's good that he's leaving, because it's just a relationship which will never come back to normality, if we want to call it that way. But that kind of poses an end to Zaniolo live streams, to Zaniolo topics, and all of that. Obviously, these next hours will be crucial. As Fabrizio said, his move to Galatasaray will be confirmed in these next hours. Apparently, if all these things proceed in the right way, he will fly to Istanbul tomorrow. The earthquake which happened in Turkey and Syria, between the border of these two countries, has kind of delayed a few things. But I don't think the deal is going to collapse. I mean, if the deal collapses, then who do we blame? I think it will happen. I think on Wednesday, Zaniolo will sign his contract with Galatasaray. Starting from next weekend, he will play next to Icardi, next to Sergio Oliveira, which is another player which Zaniolo has actually contacted in these last hours. Zaniolo and Oliveira have had a few contacts. Obviously, the two won the Conference League together, so Oliveira is a Galatasaray player. So yeah, that's the end of it. Will we miss you? Yes, we will. But will we miss your attitude? Will we miss the thought of being bigger than the club? Will we miss this potentially, in inverted brackets, toxic attitude? No, we won't miss this. We will miss the player. We won't miss the person. That's how we can sum things up. But right, I'm done with Zaniolo. I'm going to mention a few words on Gini, because Gini today actually had a game. I don't know if it was an official game or actually a training, but he actually had, I think it was a game. I think he had a game with the academy team. Everything was fine. He had checkups after the game, and everything is fine. The recovery has proceeded very well. So Gini Wijnaldum this Saturday in Lecce. We'll have some minutes. We'll have some minutes according to these last statistics and news. So that's good news on Gini, because if he doesn't get a few minutes on Saturday, he'll definitely get a few minutes next week. But in these next few matches, Gini is gonna be back. Mourinho is hoping for... I don't think we will have a complete Gini Wijnaldum to start and play 90 minutes against Salzburg in the first round, which is away from home, the 16th of February. I do think Gini will start from the start in the second round, which is the following week at the Olimpico in Rome. So yeah, that's definitely the same. Get rid of Pinto too. His signings are terrible. Agree. Pinto is terrible. And then there was one last thing I was gonna say. Apart from this Gini. Oh yeah, it's I want to touch on Isco a bit, because obviously people have read that Isco has offered himself to Roma as a post-Zaniolo player. No, absolutely not. You know, I would take Isco if it means free agent and replacing him with anyone. But if we replaced Zaniolo with Isco, then Thiago Pinto should literally cook pancakes on his fucking forehead. You know, that's how bad the situation is if we spend Zaniolo's money on a player like Isco, who is basically going to have 2 to 3 more good years in his career. I'm going to say this again. It's not going to happen, but we have to try and buy a player similar to Colomwani. I've repeated Colomwani so many times in the past few weeks. I'm in love with him. It won't happen. I mean a young player, a generational talent. We need a generational talent. That's who we need. We cannot waste a generational talent like Zaniolo, who could have become a generational talent, and buy a dead player like Isco. We just can't. And again, why would we buy Isco if he was close in joining Union Berlin last week, had his medical checkups with Union Berlin, and Union Berlin decided not to sign him because his medical checkups showed that he had a condition, and at least he wasn't 100% fit? Why would we do that? So Isco, no Isco, please. I think the Zaniolo replacement will come in the summer. We will need time, we will need effort, and we will need money to find a good solution to just replace Zaniolo. Because again, Zaniolo might not have been the best of players in these past seasons, but Zaniolo's position in the club was a very significant position. He played a big role. When it comes to as mediator with fans, he played a big role in the center of things. So I expect we buy someone with a similar standard to Nicolo Zaniolo. But yeah. Right, let's read some comments. In the meantime, a lot of you in, so please, if you haven't already, take 2 seconds to smash that like button and let me know in the comments of the video your impressions on this deal, which can be completed in these next hours. So yeah, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new here. Any Galatasaray fans, subscribe. You know, we've got the same colors. We share the same color. Roma fans appreciate Galatasaray fans because they're orange and red, and I hope Galatasaray fans appreciate Roma fans because they're red and orange. So Galatasaray fans are welcomed on this community. So yeah, right. Verona coming through with a draw. Yeah, Lazio lost points, very significant. We are currently sitting third by ourselves in the league. Atalanta lost points, Lazio lost points, Milan lost points. By the way, thoughts on that derby? That derby was appalling. I expected something way bigger. I expected a 4-goal thriller, something like that. It was a dead derby. But I think if Milan lose against Torino on Friday, Pioli's gonna get the sack, 100%. Roma said no to Isco, good. I remember Roma was after him and he turned them down. I love Zaniolo and he has done a lot for the club, but I think he wants to go. He can't act like that. Yes, definitely. He's either gonna save or destroy his career. Good point. Hope Pellegrini goes to Cremonese, bring Cristante with him. I think we're gonna touch on the Pellegrini topic in these next few days, because we're obviously not playing this week, so we've got a full week to discuss about these situations. But yeah, we'll discuss it step by step. He sat on the injury list with nothing to do but read positive hype about himself. Came back with unrealistic expectations, says Logical. The captain needs to do more. As Mum would say, I don't hate you, I'm just disappointed. That's how I feel about Zaniolo. Fully agree with that. Logical says, my pure Roma. I am a Gala fan. We are making the most expensive transfer in the club history, but we are not happy we had a terrible day in Turkey. Wait, so you're telling me that Zaniolo deal is the most expensive transfer in the club's history? You see, the thing is, it's either going to be a hit or it's either going to be a miss. He's either going to show everyone the potentials he has, or he's either going to show everyone that his injuries have destroyed him and he will never become the player he was before. That's how I'll prepare Zaniolo for you. And also, you're getting someone with a bad attitude. Again, I'm not trying to downgrade him, but the reality is he has a shit attitude. So yeah. If Zaniolo goes, could Mourinho not put Solbakken in his ECL squad? No, because it had to be submitted a few days ago and it cannot be modified. So yeah, that's something which Solbakken will have a bummer on. Someone having Turkish messages. I have no idea what that means. I'm sorry, I don't speak Turkish. Zaniolo wanted more money out of 2 good performances. If that isn't big red flags, what is it? Says Spandan. Yeah, I get the point. Get rid of Pinto. Yeah, read that. Milan look like they'll end up in Conference League. Walter Sabatini was a good sport director, indeed, very good. He managed to get some very good players and spend very less amount of money. I don't know about Milan. I mean, they're definitely going to get top 4 in my opinion. They're definitely not going to get top 4. In case I mumbled my words there. So, I don't know. You just can't get top 4 after you lost so many points. Genie is gonna play in a friendly against Roma's Primavera. Watch one of the youngsters injure him again. No, we don't need that. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it's crucial hours. It's hot hours because the deal can be unleashed in these next hours. Zaniolo will fly to Istanbul tomorrow, according to Fabrizio. So it's done. The relationship, the story between Zaniolo and Roma is done. And I will catch you tomorrow with another stream. It's very early, but we're going to start preparing for the Lecce game on Saturday, another very important game, because we have to try and we have to start forming a distance. We're in a good position now. Let's build on this position, and we just cannot lose points on Lecce after a decent win against Empoli. So yeah, catch you tomorrow. If you haven't already, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. No rage tonight, says Marco Galovic. No rage tonight. Sometimes I have my good old daily dose of rages, but unless Amanda's is not in the chat, then no rages will happen. That lady just cracks me up. She's probably in the stream right now. The question is she even a lady? Like I've said this many times, is she even a lady? I don't think she is. But the second I see Amanda pop up in the chat, I start turning into the guy who brought the dead souls in Dante's what was it? I studied it like last week. The second I see Amanda's name in the chat, I start turning in the guy in the Divine Comedy who brings the dead souls across a river into hell. That's who I become. She just. No, I'm not gonna even mention her name. It's like mentioning Voldemort's name. So yeah, I'll catch you tomorrow. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share the link of my channel with your families and friends. And as I said at the start, prayers and thoughts go out to every single person who has been affected by the Turkish and Syrian earthquake. Catch you very soon. Simon out.